Okay, hello everybody. Today we are going to review Creed 2. So now that I'm actually remembering, this is the one where Drago comes back into the picture. So Ivan Drago and Victor Drago. So Victor Drago is his son. And it seems that at this point, Dolph Lundgren's character, Ivan Drago, when he comes back to the States, he meets up with Rocky and says that, his new boy and obviously Drago's son are going to fight. Um, Now, oh God, I believe that it had to have. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, definitely. Um, it's coming back to me now. Okay, so this is after. Um, this is after Adonis has won the title and he's gone on a winning streak, I do believe. Yeah, like a six or something winning streak. So now, obviously, over in Russia or over in the Ukraine, Kiev, Ukraine, it seems that Drago's son is kind of doing the same thing that Adonis did in the first movie, where he's fighting a lot of these underground guys and just like mowing through them, because he's pretty much built like the way Drago was in Rocky 4. So it's kind of crazy to see the physique on on his son. It's basically the same as what he was. So it feels like these guys are pretty like a serious force to be messed with, right? Um, and obviously we know how it went with Drago in the past, and then him losing in Russia. So I guess he's kind of he kind of gets his name dragged through the mud in Russia, and he had to obviously go to Ukraine because he's become kind of a joke in the as far as the fighting world goes, I guess. So he ended up leaving Russia. But now that he has his son, who has become a boxer and has been fighting since he was a kid too, he believes that his son is going to have no problem beating Adonis. And obviously, Creed versus Drago is going to bring in huge money, and it's going to be a huge fight, so on and so forth. Um, so the first fight kind of goes similarly. Uh, is kind of similar to the Apollo versus Drago fight, and Rocky says that he can't. There's no way that he's going to be able to train uh, Adonis for this fight. There's just no way around it. So Adonis decides to go to the next best thing, I guess, which would be Tony Burton, or Little Duke, as we know him. Um, Logan Balboa. What in the world? Okay, I don't even remember who that is. Oh, that's at the okay. Okay, never mind. We're not even close to that yet. Okay, so in this movie, Adonis proposes to Bianca, and they also end up having a baby. So Rocky becomes a godfather, which is pretty cool. Um, and yeah, this is the one where Rocky takes for the second fight against Drago's son, which is obviously they make the stipulation to have it in Russia again because they want to make up for the past and all of the stuff that's happened over the years, and obviously being made a joke, and the fact that Drago's wife ended up leaving him for somebody else, and yeah, obviously it kind of hurts. Obviously, it kind of hurts his son in a way too, and you can kind of see that. So it wasn't even necessarily like you kind of felt a little bit for his son, because especially in the last fight where it was very much back and forth, and especially after the training in the desert, I believe that obviously Adonis was a much stronger person for that training, because that would be hell. Training like the way he did in this movie. And he looked a lot like Michael B. Jordan looked a lot bigger at the end of the movie than he did at the very beginning. So he obviously packed on quite a bit of muscle between like during the filming of the movie, I believe. And I think this was important for him to have the to show that he had the power to fight Drago's son at the very end of the movie, because in the first fight it went very similar, as I was saying, to Apollo versus Drago in Rocky 4, where he gets hit and then Drago's son ends up getting disqualified because he hits him when he's on a knee, and ends up uh, ends up actually doing some pretty serious damage, and then Adonis ends up in the hospital, and that's when Rocky comes to see him, and then they decide that they're going to train together to fight him for the second time. Um, and yeah, so they do all the training in the desert. They have the baby. Unfortunately, the baby ends up being born deaf, um, but they overcome that as the series goes along, and you'll see when I talk more about the third movie, you'll see how they just kind of accepted the fact. I mean, they accepted it in the third movie because Rocky has a discussion with him and says, if she's not going to be bothered by it, you can't, right? Sort of thing. Like when the kid grows up, are you going to love her despite her flaws? Sort of thing. Obviously, obviously they do love the kid. It shows in the third movie, but we'll talk about that when we get to that. So yeah, they go over to Russia. Little bit better accommodations, I think, this time than when Rocky went over there with Polly in Rocky 4. Yeah, they pretty much left them with nothing in that movie. So yeah, they get a little bit better accommodations, obviously. Kind of feel like that might be because he's the heavyweight champ already, so he kind of gets the respect. And obviously, he didn't end up losing his title to Drago because of the disqualification. Um, so yeah. All's well and good, and now he just has to defend his title over in Russia, which might be a little bit harder because the crowd is going to be sort of against him. But by the end of the fight, he ends up showing that even Drago's son isn't good enough to defeat a top boxer, because they brutally went back and forth for the full 12 rounds. And then in the 12th round, Adonis ends up getting the final knockdown, and I think I think the mother left long before the final round anyway, so it didn't even matter. And you kind of see the hurt on uh, on Victor's face for sure, um, because it seemed like, yeah, at that point she had definitely just kind of given up on the two of them, which is kind of sad because that's your mother, right? Like, should be there for you, whether you have victory or defeat. It shouldn't just be all about victory. So it ends up kind of being similar to like what Rocky was, where um, they were. It kind of felt like they were 1-1, even though it was a disqualification the first time around. It almost felt like, yeah, it almost felt like 1-1 to me, because I feel like regardless of what had happened in the first fight, Drago probably would have won if he hadn't have thrown that punch, just because he was the bigger guy and he had the power punches. And like Rocky said in the movie, your regular training isn't going to be enough to beat this guy. You've got to be able to like dig and not feel the pain, sort of thing, when he hits you. So kind of crazy to think that that's what, like, in order to be a boxer, sometimes that's what the mindset you have to have, that pain doesn't exist. Um, and I will say, at least in this one, it kind of seemed more realistic when it came to like effects and stuff, because I feel like in the Rocky movies they really like made them like completely battered and bruised by the end of the fights, but I feel like in this one it seemed more realistic, where yeah, like just the just the makeup effects and stuff seemed a little bit more realistic, as opposed to like them having like almost both eyes shut by the end of a fight, because I mean, you're not constantly getting hit in the eye all the time, unless you're like Rocky and you're defending with your face, right? Which is not what Adonis was doing. He had a little bit more movement skill and knew how to kind of roll the punches off and so on and so forth. Not to say that he didn't get hit from time to time, that's for sure. But I mean, once you've been in there for 12 hard rounds, sometimes you forget about your defense, I guess. But yeah, I would say this movie was a little bit of a step above the second movie for sure. And I feel like that's probably because we're getting some more character development now, and obviously introducing the Dragos back into the movie series just felt like, yeah, it was just that was a power move as far as I was concerned for this movie, and it just made the movie just that little bit better, having kind of sticking with the, yeah, kind of bringing back the legacy characters again is a smart move for a series, and it kind of makes the, yeah, it kind of makes the new character feel even more epic because now he's defeated the sun. So, yeah, kind of cool for sure. So anyway, I gave this movie a 9 out of 10 because I thought it was a slightly step above the first movie. And yeah, I guess that's all I can say for this movie. And I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.